team and you don't know what any of these are, I'm telling you, you are actually working way less than you can be. But let's start off first of all with psychology. I said expert. All of my stuff is based on a guy named Daniel Kahneman. You know Daniel Kahneman? Have you heard of him? He's an old psychologist and he won the Nobel Prize for economics because he showed most people make decisions like sheep. What Mark's going to tell you now is it is so hard to change people's minds that even Daniel Kahneman's starting to go now, oh, the factfulness guy is going, oh. So when I'm telling you things, I am saying, today I'd like you as much as possible to open your mind. And Kahneman comes up with, and when I wrote my book, by the way, I had the whole thing written, then I read his book and went, I got to start again. This guy knows what he's talking about way more than I do. So, first of all, Kahneman talks about there are two ways people think, not two different areas in the brain and all of that. There are two ways people think. First of all, the first one's system one. System one thinking is, what you see is all there is. And it's funny because my brother knows that as a set of letters. It's the only acronym if I ever use it, is WYSITA. And my brother Mark, who's a lead coach, goes, oh, they do mean a lot, don't they? And what it means is, if you've been exposed to a business or a parenting style or anything, you are most likely to do it the same way. What you see is all there is. People don't have time or effort or energy to go out and find anything else, so they tend to stay where it is. And if where it is good, fine. But if where it is not where it should be, it's really difficult to change. It is also emotional. It makes fast judgments. It's not expert, overemphasizes our own ability. And unfortunately, he won the Nobel Prize to show this is most often used. And it's really funny because I had a 16-year-old boy yesterday, and his mum's dragging him out the car because he's been reported and everything else like that. And I said, you walked in here. And by then, we'd actually had a bit of a chat and we're getting on really well. I said, you went, middle-aged woman, this is going to be really boring. He went, yep. And I'm like, is it? And he goes, nope. And I said, system one thinking. And the best way for me to say that, this is so often in how people make bias. They don't actually even know bias exists. They don't know what they are. And then they go, no, I'm not booing him because I'm racist. I'm booing him because, he dared to stand up and say something or things like that. To try and change people's mind is very difficult because this system rules the world. But if you want to be healthier, you want to be happier, and you want to be the best at what you do, then you start to think what Kahneman talks about. Critical thinking, and that isn't being critical. That isn't being nasty, it isn't being this, it's actually, do we do that well? Why? How can we do it better? And once you start to evaluate on that, you're evaluating, you're starting to make good judgments, and you are more likely to become an expert because you are looking at reasons why not, rather than always reasons why. And so again, it's really important, it takes time and effort, and it takes practice to use. And it starts to make you a much more informed consumer of many things. And as I said to most people don't even realise things like the paint eraser. We've seen that on TV. It's like a pen and you push it in. And of course you get your money back if it's no good. And that works on system one things that people actually don't have time, effort or energy to send things back. So you can actually do really bad things with society, and because we're busy and all of that, we all fall for it and we go for it. So again, this guy is so good. His book is difficult to read, but it's actually worth it if you can. And he also has lots of podcasts along with the Freakonomics guy. So when I'm trying to give you information, this isn't Jenyu Williams' opinion, I'm trying to give you the best in the world, so we cut it down quickly and you get an idea. Next one, this is my star. And in the star, there's care, there's mastery, there's talent, knowledge, there's luck, motivation, thinking styles, individual characteristics, and monitoring, evaluating, and planning. That's a lot. And nearly everyone that comes to me hasn't done any side work at all. And then they go, oh, we'll be a great boss, we'll do transformational leadership and everything. And I'm like, you don't even know about yourself yet enough. And if you want to be great at anything, start finding out about what makes up an individual. And today I haven't got a lot of time to talk to you about all of these areas because again, they're almost a talk and a whole lot of video clips and a lot of fun in one. But to try and give us an idea for today, I'm going to start off with the concept of flow. Have we heard of that before? You might have seen the inverted U-curve and all of that, and in fact that doesn't stand up. So I'm trying to give us an idea, and some of this is my stuff and you can vary it. Most of this one is mine. Skills and competencies are down the bottom. That's how good you are at something. Skills and competencies of the individual. So this can be your workplace, this could be home, depends on what we're looking at and how you're feeling. But up the side is the challenge of the event, how hard something is. So when your skills and competencies match your challenges, guess what? You're in the flow zone. When your skills and competencies are too good for what you're doing, you're bored. Would that be true? Hopefully you're not bored now. And if you're not bored, what I'm doing is starting to get you to notice, what do you notice about yourself when you're bored? Anyone got anything? By the way, I'll ask people questions. You make a mistake, who cares? This is where you learn. We need environments where we actually can go and work with others, make mistakes, learn, all of this. So if you're feeling bored, what do you notice about yourself? Got anything?
What do I notice about myself when I'm bored?
Yeah.
That I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing.
I like that, yeah. Procrastinating, doing all of that. Anyone got anything else they notice about themselves when they're bored? Not focusing? Exactly. What about physiologically? Because I am now the psychologist that links head and heart. This is not all about, what I'm thinking, sometimes about what goes on in your body. What happens?
Eat.
You eat? Yeah, that's an absolute thing. Why do you think people eat?
To do something.
Because it raises something that people don't even realise. It's to do something, but also, what else do you notice when you are really bored about your heart rate? It's really low. And in fact, I've sat in front rows of meetings, and I sit in the front row because someone might ask me a question and never think about people like me that go wandering. But one of the things about that is, when you're really bored, I've actually done 3 things. Coffee. I don't even drink coffee, but you're in the front row. You're the PE teachers, you were always last over the staff meeting, and you had the big guy standing up front. Second one is, I've had to pinch myself to keep myself awake. I don't know if that's ever happened to people, but pain also increases your heart rate. So I'm now starting to give you an idea that this is the emotionally too cold. It's a bit like porridge. All right, when you're too cold, heart rate's low, shoulders are down, might be yawning. All of those are indications. So we're starting to think, what makes boredom? What I'm doing is there. And then I would go, I have kids who go, do you get bored? Yeah. What about when you're doing the dishes for your mum? Because I've got their mum sitting next to them. Yeah, I get bored. So what do you do about it? And my choice is to say, this is because no one said you're capable of thinking of things to stop you being bored. It's not my job always, but maybe my job is to teach you, because what you see is all there is. You don't know what to do. So just very questioningly about that, I'm making you wash the dishes at home. It's really boring. What do you do about it? Have a chat. That's a really good one. What else could you do? There's something that I would definitely do straight away. I'm at home, I'm having to do the dishes, and it's boring as all hell. What would I put on?
Music.
Excellent. One of those things. And what does music do to your heart rate? Pushes it up a little bit, you see. So we're now starting to link our head and our heart, which is what psychology and physiology should do, not put them in separate areas. When your skills and competencies match the challenge, you're in the flow. The flow is, I call the dancing zone. When you feel like, I'm at work, how good is this today? It's a really good day. All right, and again, I'm even talking about your waiting rooms. What you do, how you have that, because if it's sitting there and everyone's bored, or I'm sitting on a table and lying there and there's just blank ceilings, it does things to people's heart rate. And it's the heart rate response that's going to determine a lot of what happens to people. So, this is the flow zone. And notice the one word in there that isn't in the other 2 areas is thinking. When you are in the zone where your heart rate and you are able to match system 2 work with what you can do, skills and competencies with the challenge, then you're in your thinking zone. You will make good decisions. You will actually do what's right. You might even work out, I don't know what decision to make here. I'm going to ask on, because I'm not the big expert in this. But this is coaching too. This is when I make a good decision about who to move or what to do. When your skills and competencies are not as high as what you're about to experience, you are going to be anxious or angry or freeze. Fight, fight, freeze. And guess what then? Heart rate. So we're now noticing a little bit about how these 2 match and what goes on. And that is the emotional too hot zone. Either the head's going or the heart's going. And that will be things like, and I'll show you now, feeling sluggish, not switched on, lethargic, no bouncing, you're like a squash. This one, you can think and act. Everything seems easy. And for my athletes, you can influence the scoreboard. For you guys, you're making good decisions in what you're doing. Anxiety, fast heart, dry mouth, cold hands, feeling sick, looking tired, scared, nervous number ones, nervous number twos, and throwing up. They're all the things that happen to people when they're anxious, and it doesn't matter whether it's a job or whether it's on the sporting field. It relates exactly the same thing. Kids before an exam. So whenever I teach this isn't about teaching about sport or about coming to radiology. This is life. And once you start getting a handle on where do I sit and what am I going to do about it, it makes quite a difference to everything here. So this is, give you an idea, staying in the adjustment level. This is an umpire. And he's a great umpire, having a great time. People give him heaps, and he handles it. Because guess what? He's in that thinking flow zone, having a lot of fun as an umpire. Then his girlfriend leaves him. Have a look at the difference in body language, thinking, and reaction. Remember, some of you are parents sometimes, and when I have parents and their kids sitting in on this, they both start laughing because I talk to them about who goes out of the zone. So if we have a look here, I should be able to hopefully, whoops. How do I get that one to go?
The cursor's coming up when you move your...
Now it's come up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It goes when I didn't have it in...
Spacebar.
Spacebar?
Yeah, at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
What?
Stop looking for that way you...
Oh, yep.
Big baby. Just play the game, okay? How are you?
Okay. Nope. You might not be able to do this. Okay, we'll try from there.
Patrick, stop looking for that
Oh,
way
it's
you...
working on there, it's not working on here, sorry.
Just play the game, okay? How are you?
So notice he's in the flow zone. He's doing his job.
No. Walking, right there.
They're climbing all up and down my back out there.
Hey David, come on, you're making $5 million a year, you could be in a submarine walking into a periscope. Let's just play ball, okay?
You gotta call that,
Stop
Nick.
the whining, okay?
What are you doing there?
Make some calls, maybe, huh?
I'll make the call. Hey, I'm getting clear off your head.
What, are you tired?
Yeah, your girlfriend wore me out last night. You know how you last.
It was a tango! You did the tango!
That's my call.
You weren't there.
I was there.
You weren't there.
I was there. Hey, Mick, where'd you buy your clothes from?
Why?
You're looking to have a kid. We want to know where to shop. Ain't funny.
Thanksgiving, big networking. Lakers at Detroit. It was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's last season, his farewell tour. And they made a huge celebration for him in every town the Lakers played. This time it was Detroit. So it's a big game. This was the biggest rivalry in the league back then. Scalping tickets were $600. And of course, Mickey's crew does the game because he's
Body
the best.
language?
Only it's a holiday.
Heart rate?
Thousands of miles from her. It's miserable. He's a time bomb.
How'd you miss that last call? You want to borrow these?
Let's go, let's play!
That beer's got me in a headlock out there. What are you waiting for? Blood?
Technical foul! For what? Do you want another one? Do you want another one?
What did I say? Just because you're having a bad game, don't take it out on me.
You're out of here, Kareem!
What are you nuts? This is my farewell game.
Oh, come on, let me be the first to say farewell! Get out of here!
No, you're nuts.
Yeah, really? Hey, what are you laughing at?
Nothing.
No?
Nothing.
That's it, technical, for lying.
Are you
Am I out of my mind? Am I crazy? You're out of here, too!
You throw me out of the house.
Take a walk, my friend.
What the hell?
Okay, that goes on. But as you can see, when people go outside their zone, that flow zone, they don't make good decisions. They don't think. So in any job where one of you is emotional and actually for different reasons, and it may be something at home that challenges you, it may be something at work, it may be your relationship, any of those things can actually add to your challenge, and you might be having a really good day and it may be a really bad patient, or it may be something really difficult that you're dealing with. And these are all what I would do if I'm a sports site. What if beforehand? That you're all sitting around beforehand, and as a group or as a business, you've started to thinking, what if these happen and what do we do about it? And most of the time, people just wait till things happen. My daughter works at Port, and they lose a game and everyone rings them up. And I'm like, do they prepare you for how you have to talk to people? Or no, people just ring us up and abuse us. And I'm like, that is not a good way of organisations dealing with this. And this is front office often in your jobs and things like this. So you need to understand bell curves, science. You guys are scientists, you get bell curves. They are one of the most important things in the world, because what they're doing is telling you, where are you as a performer? Are you average? Are you above average? Or are you below average? And sometimes people have a below average day because of various reasons, and someone yells at them. And say their normal average is up here, and they have a below average day and someone yells at them, and the next time they're back here again, they say it's because they yelled at them. I go, no, it's not. It's regression to the mean. It's back where you started. Think about that. You are somewhere originally. And if you're having a day that's this bad, and I talk about golfers, they have days when they're fantastic and days when they're terrible, they have to work out what's luck or what was just one of those days. Because so many times in sport, people get yelled at and then they go back to playing like they usually do. And everyone goes, because they yelled at. And I'm going, no, regression to the mean says people will go to their norm anyway. But people don't think about this. And in everything in your business, where are you? Now, for me, if you're low and you're feeling stress, we need to do something about it. Because sometimes I have people who get really stressed, and I'm going, but you haven't had enough preparation. So what does that mean? In the personal skills and competencies down the bottom, I have 4 areas. Now, if you guys think about it, you have 4 areas. You have technical, you have physical, you have psychological, and you have social. And all 4 of them are really important competencies for people. And sometimes it's a social aspect in a business that no one's talked to people about. I have a boy with Asperger's. And guess what? He's been told he's had Asperger's, you're no good at being social stuff. And I go, yeah, but just because you're no good at something now doesn't mean you haven't been, but what are we going to do to work on it? He goes, no one ever gives me anything to work on. So I've got him with mum watching Bachelor in Paradise and all of these things and freezing the TV and trying to think what the emotions look like. He may never feel them, but he can learn to see what someone looks like when they're happy, when someone looks like, when they move away, what do you do? Also, you want to make friends with someone, take in some cakes every now and then. Take in something, share. Then also learn some things about your co-workers. So even though you're a business, I'm saying that is really important part of how people feel like when they're coming to work sometimes.
Can I jump in with that
Yep.
New York thing?
Yep.
So there was a study done about in the mid-90s looking at the number of people you could call on as a Gallup poll in Manhattan. If you're having a really bad time, how many people could you call on to help you? Around then it was 5. That was the most common answer, was 5. They repeated it 3 years ago. The most common answer was 0. So let's fix it, and this is part of Jen's stuff. So
And most athletes and people come to me and they go to a conference or anything and they get psychologically, oh yeah, I'm somewhere here. And I lucked, and I'm going to talk about luck later on, into having what I call Tigger thinking. And I'm going to show you that, so I've got to be quick today. I apologise, I'm always quick. You may never hear any of this again. This is what you see is all there is. I'm fighting it for all it's worth. Everything we do, we put on the net to show you if you want to go back and have a look. That's why I wrote a book, because guess what? At some point, it's good stuff, and people should remember it. Physical, what do you have to do for your job? And this is even worth a conversation. How fit do you need to be? Well, I need to be to stand up this much. Oh, it's good. Oh, so do we have a time when we walk? Do we have a time when we do that? Mark, for instance, assisting with operating, found it really difficult to hold retractors all day. Got really sore hands and all of these things. So that also comes into it. But the one thing I asked Mark to talk, and I'll just get him to say something quickly, is if I'm doing my footballers, for instance, or any other thing, I sit down and we start identifying what are the different areas that they need. So I got one woman who didn't get picked for footy. Coach, I'm always on the edge. I said, take him for a coffee, tell him what a great job he's doing, say, oh yeah, is there anything else you think I should be doing? And next week she brings me and she goes, I'm in the team. And I'm like, I knew you'd be in the team. All right, that's the social aspect. It works. If you actually are nice to people, they're more likely to pick you. All right, all of these, how you deal with social media, how you deal with all of that has to be a conversation. Psychologically, flow, adjustment, care, calm, the staff, preparation. That's got to be part of a whole conversation. Technical, now, I asked Mark, what makes your job and what makes you good at your job? And so Mark rang up a few. Yep, goes
So
Mark.
just for interest in the room, who's ultrasonographers? You want one? Admin? Or what does everyone else do? Sort of general radiology or radiography?
Nurse.
X-ray, nursing, MR. So rang a couple of 2 doctors I rang who are sort of MSK because it's my area, so I get on with them and got their phone numbers so I could harass them. One was in Bali drinking at a cool bar. Short fella. I'm a bit at it. And there's another couple, but the first thing they said was, like they didn't actually really know. I mean, they're not psychologists and they're not actually doing the jobs.
They're not ultrasounds.
And they're not doing the jobs that nurses do and ultrasonographers. So one of the better ultrasonographers I know in town talked about psychological characteristics that he would look for when recruiting, for example, for ultrasonography. It's quite popular to do, and there's a heap of applicants. So one of the top things that he does is if someone takes an X-ray and notices maybe, is it a little vessel or is it a crack, not sure, go in and ask. That's a bit radical, isn't it? Asking if you're not sure, because there's time pressures and you've got to get through and you're already one behind and all this sort of stuff. And the radiologists say, maybe we're just getting a bleak or a slightly different view, try this. And then they'll go out and they'll keep doing that. That was one thing. The other thing was how they get on with people, because particularly sonography, and this is nursing as well, you're in their face, they're asking you difficult questions. He was starting to swear at this point, so I'll give you the edited version. Was, like someone would come in for an obstetric scan and they'd be all about a gender reveal party. And you notice a tetralogy of Fallot or something that looks a bit weird. So all of a sudden you're going from have they got a dick or not to saying, wow, there's actually, and how do you navigate that? So this is where I think it's quite good to sort of pre-plan this. This is Jen's sports psychology hat. What if we go from a gender reveal party to saying actually we need to get a specialist in, rescan you on a better piece of equipment, for various reasons or whatever. I need the radiologist in who's upstairs going crazy doing interventional stuff. He or she is not around. So, pre-planning some of those talks, and as an admin person, how do you support that? As an admin person or ultrasonographer, do you know someone's suffering in the waiting room? Do they need a wheelchair? Do they need pain relief or whatever? But so these are some of the non-technical aspects, but they are sort of technical. They let you do your job better.
They're in the social. See, this is what I'm saying is to be great at something, you have to identify what makes the difference. And this isn't just my stuff. This is a checklist manifesto, who is another medical thing that has been around for a long time. But aircraft ran into mountains because they used to just do Korean co-pilot, pilot. We're going to run into the mountain. They ran in the mountain because history and their sociology said, well, you don't question the captain after you've said it once. They knew they were going to run in the mountain, but no one did that. There are so many things in aviation that now they have checklists in all of these things to make sure things go well and how you do that. And I had a guy who's landing Dreamliners come to me. He was technically proficient, magnificent, all these. He said, I just want to know I'm doing well with my crew. So he was like a captain. So we were doing captain school. So all of this is important now. Actually, you guys starting to identify what are the areas that make a difference. And nursing here, I had to do the RAH, when he said Mark's got his radiology thing. Well, I've been, zapped with breast cancer and all of that stuff. And I'm asking questions all the time and finding out, and then I'm finding out they've moved departments, they didn't talk to the nurses. All of this sort of stuff makes a difference to how people feel going to work. And, as a patient, I also know if I want really good treatment, if I'm nicer to people, God, somehow things go better for me. It's a really interesting thing. So, I tell every young man I work with that plays footy, do extra work with older blokes. They do not lose their talent. They will help you, but if they're grumpy, don't have them around because it doesn't make you better. Shrinks your star. At any of this that you're not good at shrinks your star. So we need to help you with all those areas.
I'm using this as a microphone because it's a bit better than the computer, but just so you've got it and it's on audio, so it's called the Checklist Manifesto. It was talked by Daniel Kahneman, is one of his references. So if a Nobel Prize winning psychologist recommends it, he's got lots of grey hair and been around, probably worth a read. He's a general surgeon in New York, and he made a big name for himself because he got the central line insertion rate infections in ICUs down from around 40% to 2 or 3%. And guess who we worked out the best people to lead it? It was nurses. So that was the concept, was how do you get really complex environments and actually develop fairly simple guidelines. The first aeroplane that took off that had hydraulics that was towards the end of the Second World War was made by Boeing, and there's another one, and the plane took off. 30 seconds later it crashed because it was the first with relatively new electronics at the time, electrics and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't wires and flaps and that sort of stuff. And that was the first time ever a checklist was had to be developed. And guess what? The Army generals, went with the fly-by-wire sort of flaps and wood and paper sort of stuff because the technology wasn't. The technology was there. It was just the system wasn't there. So worth a read, maybe.
And again, when we're talking about all this, I'm trying to say, this isn't our opinion. We sit, you can see, we love this. We watch, we listen to all these podcasts. We try and find the best stuff in the world and give it to people. And everyone thinks, oh, you're in Adelaide, you can't be that good. Good stuff is when people start to realise it, they start to go, this makes a difference in what we're doing. So, in the middle of the star is this care about others. I talk about care in 3 ways: about others, about yourself, and about the result. If you want a great life, those 3 things count. On game day, I say the result counts. And if you have a great relationship with others in your team and you say, get on the ball quickly or do this, say it loud and strong because it's direct and it's under pressure, people can handle it. Because you're nice to them most of the time, you know about their mum, you know about their dad, you care about them. But if you say that to someone that you have no relationship with, you will shrink their star and they will hate your guts. And they'll never tell you. Because guess what? You're not going to tell someone who yells at you what you actually think of them. Most people will just take it and get smaller and smaller and not like to be where they are. And I talk about these things, how do you know? So that's when I got in the Hall of Fame and we paid $50 for everyone to come. They paid $100 to come to tea with me to celebrate something about me, which means maybe we're doing something right as a person. Maybe what we're talking about, we live. And I'm telling you, I try as much as I can to make sure care is in the middle of your star and it keeps you from shriveling, all right? And those 3 things really count. To go with it, I actually asked I did this with KPMG. And I made them all go through 3 people in the room who were like Marvel superheroes, 3 people who drove a manual car. This is their business. And they're all sitting there going, oh, I reckon it could be that one or it could be that one. Well, not only did they have to try and guess who liked them, we then stood up. Who's done this? And all of a sudden, you like Marvel superheroes? Do you ever go to the movies? Yeah. So we were finding things that connected them that were outside the business, because people often don't have time to talk about this. I'm really critical of universities. This should be the first week at university, so kids keep going. Because it's not all about their subject, it's actually about who do they find, who can they find on campus. 3 people were like, I like the 3 people who can drive manual cars, because half the young people now, no one's got any idea. I had to put mums or dads for a kids group, but 3 people who drive a truck, I'm doing it with a footy team, and they went, you drive it, I need that moved. So again, it created conversation. So this care stuff is actually living and having some fun and doing all of that, and it makes people bigger. And when they're bigger, they perform better. They do better in every area. Next one, I just want to say really quickly, and this is this mastery stuff. You must have done in sport around 10,000. Now people go, oh, there's differences. If you've played a lot of something else and you pick up something, so if you've been a doctor and you pick up radiology quickly, you'll pick it up quicker than someone who's never done any anatomy at all. So there's crossover between that. But the differences between expert and non-expert, you have to know. Even in some of the stuff that you're going to hear today, I would go to and go, yeah, okay, because I don't think it's expert. And I go to what is expert, because if I'm going to something, Mark knows, I go, nah, if it's CBD and I'm not going to learn something, I don't like it. I find my time is valuable and I love reading and learning things that I don't know. So you can shortcut this with expertise. So again, in your business, if you've got someone who's really good, get them to run little things with people and help. It's the same as coaching. And sometimes someone, by the way, is going to have the best technical expertise. Don't make them the boss, because it's a different set of skills. And this is what we do too many times in accountancy, in a lot of nursing things and things like that. People who are good at technical stuff don't necessarily get the social stuff very well. And it's the social stuff that will actually keep the group together with good technical people in it. And if you do that well, no one gets stressed. They all like it, because the techies are going, oh, this is better. And the social person's going, yep, you're doing that really well, you're doing that really well. I reckon we could improve on this. So again, all of that's there. I'm just quickly saying, if you don't believe luck exists, there's something wrong. We keep telling kids you can be anything. That's not true. I didn't luck into a penis. I wanted to be the Pope. Never happened. All right? Stop lying to people that you can be anything. I have kids from Morfett Vale whose dads have kicked the hell out of them. And then I had the head prefect from St. Peter's Boys. They see the world completely differently. Until I start to talk to them about luck. What did you luck into? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, you lucked into just where you were born. I lucked into being born in the best month of the year when you want to play sport and be good at it. Anyone want to have a guess? In Australia? Anyone know? It's called the Matthews Effect. That, by the way, is all about publishing. Matthews Effect is if you've got mates, you'll get published more than anything else. They start to know all of this. You guys think, oh, it's all fair in the world, and I'm telling you, no, it's not. Matthews Effect in the sport, January. I'm born in January, which means I am always, anyone in December 31st is always 11 months younger than me, going for under 10s, under 12s. And at under 10s, it's 10% difference. And it's not only physical development, it's also here. I worked that out when I was 13, and I'm looking down the aisle at Emmanuel College, and I'm going, I'm running against all the year 8s. How easy is this going to be? And I'm in year 9. Again, starting to understand that, and starting to understand luck does make a difference, stops people start from shrinking, because I go, yeah, but what you see is all there is you've lucked into something bad. So we can help you open that and change your life.
You had bad luck on the golf course once.
When I was, once I had really bad luck on the golf course. I was about to break par on the golf course, and we live opposite the golf course, and my friends that I was with, someone came around the corner and hit the back of their car, so the green guy had to come and get us on the 18th to bring us in, so I never finished my best round of golf. You know, that happens. But I really wanted to show you this. Personality counts more than anyone understands. And again, I'm telling you, a lot of you lucked into personality. Personality is genetics, but it's epigenetics, and it's also a lot to do with your environment. And how do I know that? Twins who are identical twins, separated, are quite different. Gay, straight. Like sugar, don't like sugar. All of this, and that's the epigenetic stuff they're starting to really look at. But personality counts in many ways, because it actually determines how we think, feel, or behave about a lot of different situations. But psychologists call this cognitive behavioural, which I call head, heart, and they call it therapy. They're really silly people, psychologists. Smart psychologists call it training, because blokes do training. Blokes don't do therapy generally, especially sports blokes. Therapy, want to do some training? Yeah, no worries, training, we do training every week. So again, even language can change how people feel about things. But what we actually know is we can disturb any of those and actually help people. But it takes some work. It's not a pill, it's nothing else, but it actually means if you repeat it or do it enough, we can change our thinking, or we can change how we react to things. So just to give you an idea, this is Tigger or Eeyore thinking. So this is the purple one, thinking styles. And I wanted to show you the difference in how we react to situations. Because everyone looks like that on the outside. Everyone thinks they're really, yep, there they are. And I'm going to go, we think differently on the inside. Tiggers, what an important game. I played well. I knew I would. I'm really capable. I'm a Tigger, by the way. I lucked into this. I had a mother that told me the golf hole was this big, that I was beautiful. Dressed me in the brightest coloured things, and I thought it looked all right. Still wear bright colours all the time because of all of this. Walk tall, humble, arrogant, some are, joy and celebration. Physical sensations after a big game will be relaxation or excitement. So that can be the same with you when you're doing something big, something that's important to you. By the way, Tiggers have 2 Gs, Tigers have 1 G. They are going to be exactly the same except in empathy. Tigers have no empathy. They will have the exact same answers here, but when you need to win an important game, I will play well, I will do well, I'm capable, I can do my job, no worries. Excitement, anticipation, something big's coming up today, I'm really looking forward to it. This is going to be great. Want the attention? Walk tall, talk and have good butterflies beforehand. This is the physical size of the thinking that goes on there. Now, remember, Tiggers and Eeyores can be equally good at what they do. In fact, Eeyores can be better than Tiggers and Tigers. But this is how they're thinking about it. What an important game. My opponent wasn't very good today. I was lucky I only made so many mistakes. Mistakes. Did you hear Tiggers mention mistakes? Tigers? Nah, they don't worry about it, especially when they win. You had a good day? You don't go home worrying about every little thing. Relief, these guys, pride, but they're thinking about the mistakes. I should have done this better, I should have done this better. It's weighing down on you. Walk a little taller, but some of these, especially teenagers, will celebrate for feeling good about themselves because that doubts are in their head, so by drinking a bit, it takes the doubts away. So, need to win an important game. I hope I play well. I don't want to make mistakes. My opponent looks strong. I hope they have a bad day. Fear, dread, helplessness, they worry about things. They look small, hide, no talk, heart racing, dry mouth, cold hands, all of this. So you can see the sensations are quite different in how they're thinking about going into an event compared to a tiger. And a tiger, by the way, doesn't care about these people, other than the fact that they're a means to an end to get to wherever they want to, and they can be bosses quite often. So, even more importantly, lost an important game. I played okay. We had an off day, conditions didn't suit us. You will notice tigers and tigers make excuses. No one tells you that. We don't let you in on that secret. Tigers especially don't let you in on the secret because they'll blame you. You were terrible today, you were terrible today. And I love it when they're coaches. There's no excuse, you were terrible. There's no excuse. What are they making for an excuse for their coaching? It was their fault. They're externalising it. And it's really important that people understand the importance of going, let it go. Put it off if it was a mistake, and we'll find out why in a second. Intense defence, we don't like losing. There is no doubt about it. Maybe agitated or angry. But here's the clue. Next time you play them, or the next time you have to do this, the next time whatever it is you have to do, we'll get them today. This is my most important slide, and I give out a fridge magnet to everyone who usually comes and sees me at this stage. I am so much better prepared than last time. Remember regression to the mean. If you keep doing the same thing, Einstein said it, Flo Rida said it, I keep doing the same old thing wondering why things don't change. So if you do the same thing, you'll get the same result. So then I am much better prepared than last time. The mantra I have with all of my athletes is 1 excuse, 2 new plans. It doesn't matter what it is that went wrong. The excuse is just to keep it, whatever it is. But the 2 new plans are to help you get better. So if you made a mistake last time, oh yeah, that happened, just don't feel bad about it. Because if you feel bad, what happens to your star? It shrinks. Are you likely to do as well next time? No. So the idea is we need to keep the star big, but we need to do better. And the way we do better is to write in 2 new plans, 2 new things to do. So when I have tigers who go to some of my people, you were terrible, and they go, oh, I've got an excuse. And they go, no excuse. And they go, no, I've got 2 new plans. People don't know quite what to do with that. But what it is it's making you better all the time. So rather than just worrying about it, they were ready. So what happens is, I'm ready to go again. I'm back. I'm back, baby. I'm ready to play. That went wrong, yeah, but I've changed this around, done this a little bit better. So if my things weren't working in here, I'll be going, next time I need to get there and make sure I did this or whatever. So again, you come up with new plans beforehand. And this is part of your what ifs. If something goes wrong, what's the next steps? All the time. So you never become a slave to what's happened beforehand. Now, ears are really important. Whoops. Oh, Jenny. I just pressed the wrong button. I won't be showing you most of these, but I can show you this one. Here's your eels. Lost an important game. My opponent is too good for me. I made so many mistakes, it's all my fault. No one thinks I can play. Start shrinking. Guilt, anger at themselves and despondency, especially teenagers. Young people who are new, despondency. Withdraws, loses self-confidence, only sees or hears about mistakes. So in other words, even when he's saying good things, the mistakes are just all they're hearing. They're just hearing that. Drinking, and I wrote this original slide 10 years ago. I now say drinking, gambling, drug taking, or screen time. They are all ways of coping with not feeling good about yourself. So again, this is there. So next time you play them, my opponent's too good, I might make mistakes, I was hopeless last time. Imagine now how you've made your team. If they're feeling like this, they're getting smaller. And when a team of people in anything gets smaller, they don't perform as well. Because even their chance of remembering things starts to go down. When you are anxious, you cannot remember where you left your keys. You know, it's funny when people are asking people to fill out forms and they're really anxious before they're going into things. I'm going, well, that actually makes it 10 times harder for people. And even like, Mark, when you have something medical, take someone in with you because chances are neither of you will remember it. I tell Mark, write it down sometimes because people won't remember it. Embarrassment and back to here again. And I hate this more than anything in the world, these open, honest feedback sessions. If you work with companies that do that, they have no idea, and they need to deal with someone like me, because I will stand up amongst a whole group and say this isn't good for Eeyores. I'm a Tigger. My job is to stand up for people who feel like this. Tigers will blame people who feel like this. It's all their fault. Tiggers should actually say, no, I've got the capacity to stand up and say this is wrong. And if I can get a second or a third beforehand to go, I'm with Jenny, you change cultures really quickly. But if you don't, it stays subversive. It's all of this, we've got to go to lunch in a sec. But all I wanted to say was, this one excuse, 2 new plans, and Mark will tell you in Buddhism and all of that, self-compassion actually gets you going more. You know, having someone help you and go, yes, let's get better. And very quickly, the concept of flow, I just wanted to say, if you have an Eeyore who's a 10 technical, 10 physical, 10 social, and a 3 psychological, when it's a big game or something that they doubt themselves in, their technical goes down. So does their physical abilities, because it's like this the night before. They played the game before they'd even got it out there. So does their social ability, everything shrinks. Well, I might only be I might be a 7 or 8 technical, but if I'm psychologically a 9, everything I do stays at where it is, because I'm not doubting myself. So again, this is science. This is learning all about this. And as you can see, I've got you for this. My first talk with any teenager I have is 2 hours. I haven't had one kid not come back. Because again, we then do questions about them individually, finding out, and they do 100 questions for homework and come back and we work out that's good, that one's not, what are we going to do about it? So we actually put things in. So just to finish off, then there are all the technical things again. I thought I may as well give you why we do one of the things to get people back in the zone. Would that be a fair thing to do? And it's called a controlling breath. And one of the reasons we do the controlling breath and not just say take a deep breath is because we actually want our minds to be engaged. It comes from the biathlon, which is cross-country skiing, which your heart rate is like, and then they've got to take a gun off and shoot. It's really funny. Ask kids, what do you think their heart rate is like when they're shooting? They're like, oh, really high. And I'm like, oh yeah, try that. You know, like, so it has to be really low. So in doing so, what they do is they learn to almost go into a trance by just doing breathing and counting. So it's going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold 2, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ready? Here we go. And in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold 2, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I'd usually do that 2 or 3 times with you, but we've got to get to lunch in a sec. But then what happens is, I would like you to think of something you don't like about yourself. Something that has gone wrong or something like that. Ready? Everyone think about that? Now, quick maths. 8 numbers to add up. Ready? 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 4 plus 7 plus 3 plus 8 plus 4. What did we get? 42? How'd you go out thinking what was wrong with you? See, now that's why the numbers come in. Instead of just going take a deep breath, we are now giving our brain something to actually do instead. So it actually helps us calm quicker. So let's do that one again, but I want you to imagine as I'm saying the numbers, that the breath that's coming in with those numbers, because you'd be doing this for yourself, thinking about the numbers, that breath is a nice cooling colour. And most people say green or blue. I've had a couple of purples for that one. And on the way out, when you're breathing those second lot of numbers out, it's the red or black. Some people have black. I'm like, oh, that's really black lung. It's not good. All right, we need to get it. Ready? And in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 2. Out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if we were here, the other thing that your heart doesn't know how it trains. So I would then get you to stand up and sit down 10 times or 20 times on your seat so that you actually get your heart rate up. Because we need to practice it when your heart rate's up to get it down. So not just wait till I'm nervous and now Jenny said to do this thing, I'll try. We need to actually go for a run or get it up so that you actually practice it then. And every one of my athletes, or every human being these days get a heart rate monitor. So you learn to practice this so that when you're anxious, you can see where your heart rate is. Oh yeah, I need to bring it down. I can do this. It's incredibly important. And in doing so, I even have a competition. You and I stand up, sit down 20 times. First one to get the heart rate down to there. So you're competing to be calm. Isn't that a nice thing to do? Actually get used to doing that. By the way, when you're doing after a big run, if you do 1, 2, 3, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got to warn you, you can't just do the breath because you will absolutely almost be falling over. So you need to do that, compete with others, it's up to you to know it. And I just wanted to show you, this was on, I had music, distraction, touch, voice care. You can watch my longer talks for free on YouTube. We put them on there because we're trying to actually do the right thing by the world. You know, Kahneman doesn't know all of you guys. You may never meet him, so my job's strengths around your office. You need to have what's good about what your whole group is. If someone's having a bad day, tell them bloody good things about themselves. That's in our lounge, by the way, with everyone's name on it as well. We live what we talk about, and colour and all of that, characteristics of champions. This is me when I was younger. Days turn to minutes and minutes to memories. Life slips away the dreams you have planned. You are young and you are the future, so suck it up, tough it out and be the best you can. This is my sporting highlight tape. So if I showed you this very quickly, I'll show you 1 second worth if it comes up.
It's coming up.
So I want you to have a business highlight tape with the people who make your business good, all of that, what you've done well. So this is me with all my brothers. This is me being wicketkeeper of the Nationals and state champions and all of these things. But I can show this to 16-year-old boys and they go, oh wow, you were actually cool. Because if you want people to listen, sometimes you have to, you know how you have all the qualifications. Mark puts that on. For a lot of young men I work with, this is way more important than anything there. Because then they go, so again, being fast. At the end of it, which you won't see, unless I can drag it along, can I? No. At the end of it, I've got Mark and I doing starting the flash mob at the show. Because again, characteristics of champions are boldness, colourfulness, imagination, all of these things. So if you know what it is, you can work towards it if you want to. If you're driven, you can change anything. And just to finish off, this was on the internet on the weekend. And I've had the biggest arguments with people because everyone says, first of all, these two, we do not even know their relationships. And I will go back to, if they've got a great relationship, they'll get over anything. If they haven't, this will break them. All right? And again, my point is, she's come back from a world championship. They've lost by a goal. I've lost a goal, double extra time in a world championship, 4-year build-up. It is devastating, all right? And in it, she says to him, I need a positive. Now, he's not bad. His instructions is really good, direct, great feedback and everything. But remember what I said, if her star shrunk, she can't absorb it. She does need that. What he says is perfect, but I would have said, okay, here's the positive, put my arm around it, you're doing this well, I need you to do exactly what he says, and then I would have said, you're a bloody champion, go out and show me what you can do. Which is exactly not putting him down, but what it's saying is, it's not what he needs that's the difference, it's what she needs, because you're putting her out there. And this is if you're a boss, start to understand how people react is a big part of this. And if it comes up, let's see if it does.
I reckon, so I know you wanted to have a look, but I reckon that you're making one just normally. I reckon
great feedback.
Change direction in itself in this way. So I reckon how about doing something, you know, rather to me at the moment you're not, so I can't give you a positive when you're not doing it. Alright? Alright? Well, there's attitude on it. I don't need it. Alright?
He then subs her and she sits on the bench and all of that happens. And all I'm saying is, I'm not damning him because he's a decent bloke, but Shani is one of my athletes, Leighton, and she said, no, you have to get used to this. And I said, Shani, you need to understand that if you can take it, doesn't mean everyone can take it. And I can be, believe me, I'm more likely to have told him to go and get nicked than she did, right? Tigers and tigers will actually stick up for themselves. Other people, and that's 60 to 70% of people, you flatten them. But then someone said, yeah, but he must have been right because when she went back on later on in the game, she played well. And I went, have you ever read about regression to the mean? And of course, they're not experts, they'll all give opinions, and they're on the internet the same as me. But you need to start working out who are the experts and finally understanding this one last concept. I've told you about a few things today. Entropy rules the world. Entropy is why the clothes are in the floor in our bedroom. I asked him one day and he said, it's entropy, darling. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And he said, well, it's a law of physics. And basically, given no impetus to do anything different, everything goes to chaos or its lowest form of energy. So dishes end up in the sink, clothes on the floor, bikes in the shed instead of being ridden, etc. It is rules the world. If you want to be great, if your business wants to be great, or you want to be great, just do one or two things you heard today, or do something differently, and all of a sudden you start to get better. And isn't that a really nice thing to know? So thank you for sitting through this. It's been like speed dial, and I've kept you for an extra quarter of an hour. So sorry about that, but thank you very much for coming.
And just for so you know, my talk on concussions, I've found a link to Daniel Kahneman's Think Fast, Think Slow. It's an executive summary of the Big Thick book. So there is a link there. So just have a look at that one if you want to do something.